What's up, ACS Soldier? What's up? Thank you for coming through. Hey, what's going on? What's happening, you guys? So this your girl Tiffany here, live in effect. It's been a minute since I did a video like this, but tonight I want to address an individual by the name of Jalal Kiyata. All right. So Jalal Kiyata, that's how you pronounce his name, Jalal. Okay, because he has a Fulani name. So anybody that knows about the Fulani language or whatnot, the DIA is pronounced as Ja. All right. Like Shank Anti Diop, right? We pronounce it as Diop, is Job. All right. So he has this Fulani name, Jalal. Okay. So I want to address this because he made a statement. And now, if you guys don't know about this man, he identified as being an atheist, and he's supposed to be a left wing radicalist, right? Okay. And he has made a lot of critiques about the black conservatives, which is fair, I understand. But I never heard him make a critique about the black left wing. I never heard him make a critique about those individuals, but it's always about the conservatives. He never really talks about the liberals, right? So, um, I I'm gonna read his post to you guys. Okay, let me get his post up here. All right, brother, be safe out there. Be safe. Okay. So this is brother Jalal Kiyata's post, right? He says black people embracing and spreading right-wing ideas and agenda is a direct result of COINTELPRO. Okay. That's what he said. And I said, well, it ain't no different than black people embracing left-wing ideology. And he put share your ideology thing. Okay. And I share my ideology. I said, first and foremost, I am a student of life. My ideology would be considered citrism and independent, which means I don't choose sides. And this is what he had to say. He laughed. He laughed at my post. And then this is what he said to me. He said, fence riding, status quotas. Shaking my head, you are choosing a side and you just aren't educated enough on ideology, philosophy, politics, or African liberation to understand you are on the political right wing. And then someone comment, bro, this is a big part of our problem. Why she feels she can extrapolate her point to the left. All right, so I'm back. My mic cut off. Okay. So, going back to Bro Jalal. Bro Jalal, I'm gonna explain to you why I don't subscribe to being on the left wing or the right wing, and why I'd rather be in the center. Okay, why I'd rather be in the center. Because when you subscribe to either side, guess what? It could be a form of infantilization. And what I mean by infantilization, right? Being infantilized. Okay. Um, for me, the way I see it, both parties carry many flaws. Both parties carry many flaws. So just like the right wing, you are correct. They got so much flaws going on. So does the left wing. The left wing has so many flaws. The left wing don't represent us like you think. Now, don't get me wrong, there are great points that I can take from the left wing. Just like there are great points I can take from the right wing. I am what you call a dialectical thinker. A dialectical thinker is someone that can look at two things could be true at once. I don't walk around with confirmation bias, but in your case, it seemed like you use a lot of confirmation bias. Okay. So I like to be able to have my thoughts balanced. All right. Now, by me being a student of life, that means that I like to study things. I like to learn various forms of knowledge. I like to learn various subject matters. Okay. So when you made the comment about me not being educated enough on ideology, philosophy, politics, or African liberation to understand, you know what? I give you that. You are correct. I am not very educated. You know, to be honest with you, I am an uneducated Negro. I am an uneducated Negro. So I agree with you on that. And it's a lot that I have to learn. But I would think that you're smart enough to understand what I mean by being a student of life. That means being able to stay on the foundation of getting knowledge. You know what I'm saying? Being able to build a foundation. Now, just because I don't subscribe to the left wing party does not mean that I don't have no understanding of what our ancestors have gone through, what our ancestors had to deal with in this country, what our ancestors had to endure in this society. That does not mean I don't have an understanding of those things. Now, again, I don't know as much as you. And I'm assuming that you're older than me. I'm assuming you're probably in your 50s, somewhere like that. I don't know. But subscribing to one party doesn't do enough for me. I don't subscribe to an organization. And there's a reason why. Because these organizations, right, even the ones that claim to be about black nationalism, they have shown that they failed. Now they did give an effort, but they failed. And there was a lot of internal conflict within these black organizations. Okay? A lot of internal conflict, which hindered the excuse me, which hindered the progress of black people because of so much internal conflict. Because it was so much about the egos. People want to, there were individuals who want to be recognized, who want to be the center of attention, who want to be everything. And then there are those who were just in it for money, monetary purpose. Now, I don't hate the people in the left wing, but let's be real. Those in the left wing party, they're not better. As a matter of fact, they both represent white supremacy, if you want to be honest, right? Because I see you talk about COINTELPRO, and you have a point. But I hope that we not gonna go around here and think that those that were a part of the COINTELPRO were just Republicans or the right wing individuals. I hope we don't go around here with that ideology, thinking that the COINTELPRO was just right wing, like there was nobody from the left wing that was a part of it. But if you can prove to me, if you can show me that there was nobody that was coming from the left wing party that played their role in the COINTELPRO, if you can show and prove to me, then I'll stand corrected. But they both are part of white supremacy in a way, because just like you got the racist white people in the conservative party, you got a lot of racist white people on the liberal side. And especially when it comes down to dealing with working class, right? Marxism. Now, Marxism is great. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of great information you can learn from Marxism. Especially when he talk about the various form of class. The bourgeoisies, right? The proletarian, excuse me. He talks about all these different things that, you know, he discusses the differences between those who are in the bourgeoisie class, right, the upper class, and in the lower class community. He talks about those things. And he does a good job. But see, when it comes down to the concept about race, those white liberals, they don't really stand on the foundation like you think. Mm-mm. And just like you have house Negroes that are conservatives, you have house Negroes that are liberals. There are house Negroes that are liberals. And let's just be honest about that. You know, it's quite sad. Somebody like yourself who claims to be a Pan Africanist, right? I'm assuming, and who's supposed to be an atheist, who's supposed to be left wing, has so much smoke for black people who are conservatives. Now, don't you think you create a division right then and there? Because you solely focusing on the conservative black people? Don't you think you creating a division? Now, there are those who are just lunaticing out their mind, but not all conservative black people are bad. Just like not all liberal black people are bad. But if you're going to call out the conservatives, you need to also call out the liberals as well. Just saying. You know, you don't, it's not fair. You don't get to just talk about one group of people over here and I look at what's going on this side and or this group over here because that's what you represent. You know what I'm saying? Um, you know, I'm gonna say this. I've been looking at your channel. I came across your channel, and I must say that you're a very wise brother. You are intelligent. You know what I'm saying? You say some things that are valuable. You drop some jewels. You do. But then you are very biased. You know what I'm saying? You are very biased. You are very limited with the information. You're very limited. You are very biased. It's like in your eyes, from what I'm seeing, if black people don't identify with being left wing, then they're not about the liberation of their own people. Hmm. See, I guess the only way black people can only be on the good side, according to you, is if they identify as being left wing. You know, if somebody like myself who identify as being a centrist, right, or be at the center, I'm not even the right, nor am I the left. You automatically got this assumption in your mind that, oh, that means you're the right because you say you at the center and you independent. No, sir, that's not the case. That's not the case, sir. So just because somebody chooses to be at the center does not make them this part or that part. You say I'm straddling the fence. You say I'm riding the fence, and you call it what you want. If that's how you identified it in your eyes, I'm riding the fence. But that's not the case. I don't have to ride the fence. See, I'm a person that I can take some information from here. If there's something valuable and useful, I can take it from there. And I can take information from over here. If it's valuable and useful, I can use those two information and combine it together. That's how I am, you know. And that's how I had to train myself to be that way. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes you have to learn how to balance your thoughts. You have to. You know, it's funny that you say I don't understand philosophy, politics, and all of that. Again, you are correct. I don't know everything. You're correct. I don't know a lot. But I got plethora of books. But let me explain something to you before I go there with the books. See, books don't make you smart. Okay? Just because you have a lot of books don't mean that you're automatically intelligent. It's what you're reading. And what do you benefit from reading those books that you have? What type of information are you getting from those books? What type of resources are you gaining from those books that you are reading? Are you being open minded? That's what matters the most. And there you go. Also, and it's how you apply the knowledge. How do you apply the knowledge that you have acquired from reading? Again, how do you apply the knowledge that you have acquired from reading? That's what matters. So you can have 1,600 books, but if you're not acquiring the knowledge that you have from what you read from those books, then it don't really matter. It does not really matter. And if those books that you read, some of them, if they're not beneficial as far as information is concerned, it don't matter. the application is very important. Again, the application is very important. So I'm gonna drop the link for you, brother. I'm gonna let you speak for a little bit. Yeah, the application is very important. But let me show you some of the books that I have. You know, because I have a lot, but let me show you some books just to show you where I'm at in my life. I have a book called The Confession of the Economic Hitman by John Perkins. This book is by Servando Galazes, right? It's called Psychological Warfare in the New World Order. Yep. Let's see. Derek Jensen, The Culture of Make Believe. Now, I'm gonna be honest with you. I haven't got a chance to read all my books lately, but I just show you I have varieties of books, okay, that deals with various subject matter. Let's see. Urban Philosophy, Thought and Behavior System by Imhotep Fatu. And African Centered Consciousness versus the New World Order, Garveyism in the Age of Globalism by Dr. Amos Wilson. But I'm going to stop right there because I want to give somebody an opportunity to speak. Peace. I can't hear you. You got static. I can't hear you. You got static. Can't you go out and come back in? All right. So while I'm waiting on the individual to come back, right? Let me continue. The Politics of Public Housing. Black Women's Struggle Against Urban Inequality by Rhonda Y. Williams. Oh, and here's one right here. Walter Rodney, How Europe Underdeveloped Africa. This is a jewel. This is a jewel. This is the most political book ever. It don't get no greater than that. This goes into the history of about Europe and Africa and how the Europeans came and colonized. How the Europeans got slaves and brought them to the Atlantic. Yeah. This book is very political. Very political. So this book right here. No, let me hold on to that. Let me hold on to that. Caste, The Origins of Our Discontent by Isabel Wilkerson. Right, hold on. Birth of a White Nation by Jacqueline Batalora. Birth of a White Nation. No, sir, I've been had these books. I had these books for a while. Some of them I had for 10 years. Some of them are recent books. Some of them I had 5 years and plus. Yeah. So I have plethora of books. That's just some of my book collection that you see. All right. But getting back to the list of books I have, Birth of a White Nation, The Invention of White People and Its Relevance Today. Okay, let me see. White Trash, The 400-Year Untold History of Class in America by Nancy Eisenberg. Oh, Asada, The Autobiography. And also I got Elaine Brown's book as well that goes into history about her life as a Black Panther. And Asada also discusses her life as somebody that was in the Black Panther Party and also that was in the Black Liberation Army. Yep. And the most important book of them all is called Critical Thinking Skills for Dummies. Critical Thinking Skills for Dummies. It's necessary. We got to learn critical thinking skills, right? If we're going to talk about being liberated and all those things, correct? You got to have those critical thinking skills. Yeah. You got to be able to see both sides of things. Let's see. The Laws of Human Nature by Robert Greene. One of my personal favorites. My favorite book. And I explain why. I'm going to explain why. The Origins of the Civil Rights Movement, Black Community Organizing for Change, Alden D. Morris. I don't know if you ever heard this book. Yeah. Let me see. A History of Socialism and Communism in Modern Times. Theorists, Activists, and Humanists by Warren Liner or Liner. Now, this book is pretty old. Let me see. This book came about in what year? This book came out in 1982. Okay. And it was revised around 1994. But it goes into the history about socialism and the concept of communism and whatnot. Let's see. Internationalism, Pan-Africanism, and the Struggle of Social Classes by Modibo M. Kadali. It says raw writings from the notebooks of an early 1970s African American radical activist. Black Skin, White Mask by Frantz Fanon. And I actually read this book. I had the pleasure of reading this book. You know, Frantz Fanon has that mindset like W.E.B. Du Bois. You know what I mean? He was born in Martinique. Okay. And he studied psychology. He went to school for psychiatry. and he started studying more about consciousness. So this book kind of deals with double consciousness, like W.E.B. Du Bois talked about double consciousness. Yeah. So that's what his book is on. But like I said, I think this is a phenomenal book. I might go back and reread it. Yep. Black Mecca. Politics and Class in the Making of Modern Atlanta by Maurice J. Hobson. Yeah. Let me see. The Tragedy of White Injustice by Marcus Garvey. So basically, this book is like deal with poetry or whatnot. Okay. So, but it's very political because this came from Garvey himself. And he wrote this book while he was incarcerated in Atlanta for mail fraud. Mhm. Okay. And here's another book by Garvey, a very political book as well. The Wise Mind of Marcus Garvey. Deal with all the speeches that he given over the years regard to the UNIA. Very African centered, black nationalist at heart. Garvey had a lot of jewels. He was a man of wisdom. He was a man of knowledge. He was a man that provided the foundation. Now, did he make mistakes? Absolutely. But we are humans, right? Was he wrong in certain area? Absolutely. Now, I'm going to personally say this. As much as I admire Marcus Garvey, he was also a capitalist. Because anybody that have an organization, right, chances are they going to capitalize. Because look at what kind of economic system that we are in. Look at the economic system that we're in. So of course, you're gonna play a part in capitalism. You're gonna have to get your hands dirty because that's the kind of economic system that we under. So, but Garvey was a wise man, I tell you that. Hegemony, the new shape of global power by John Agnew. Okay. It deals with political system, how they structure and whatnot. And gets into economics. Okay. Now I haven't really got a chance to actually read the book all the way. Because like I told you, I don't read every last one of my books. But you will know that I have varieties of subjects that I can get into, right? I have so many books that goes from various subject matters. All right. So I am not a one-dimensional person. I'm not a person that just operate from just one particular mindset. However, I do have my own personal interests. And I'm gonna go into that once I get done. Let's see. Pan African Social Ecology, Speeches, Conversation, and Essays by Modibo Kadali, the same guy that wrote the other book. Let me find it. The same brother that wrote this book. Okay, he also wrote this as well. Yeah. And it's a lot. It's very lengthy. Let me see how many pages in here. It's over about what? Close to 700 pages. About 700 pages. Close to it. It's a lot. Let's see what else I have. Let me see what else I have. Fear of Black Consciousness by Lewis R. Gordon. Yeah. Mitchell Donner, Ghetto, The Invention of a Place, The History of an Idea. Let's see. The Age of Intoxication, Origins of the Global Drug Trade by Benjamin Breen. All right, let me see if I can get this individual on here. Hey, peace.
Peace, Tiffany. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay, so I'm listening to your conversation, and I just really want to let you know, don't let no one play with you. You know, your life experience is just as valid as anyone else's life experience. You know, so just because a person read a bunch of books, I don't discount the importance of your life experience and having something to contribute. Just as you just said just now, you take a little bit of here and you take a little bit there, and you try to be reasonable about the world and objective. I respect that. You know, the guy is a leftist. That's not your position. So what makes his position more valid than yours? You know, so your life experience, it didn't take you to where he is or having a leftist ideas about the world. That's just fine. But don't let no one play with you, Tiff. You know what I mean? Just because you don't read as much books as him, don't let him play with you like that. Don't let him try to discount you or make you or you need to read more books. None of that bullshit. Because the reality is, if what he had in his head was right and exact, the world would look a whole lot different than it looks right now. So obviously he don't have all the answers. We still working on it. We still working on it. And it may take the younger generation of people to solve the problems the older generations didn't. So the fact that you are able to analyze certain things and look and see where the shortfalls are, even with Marcus Garvey, you don't even believe in what Marcus Garvey. I'm a Garveyite, and I'm telling you, yes, Garvey didn't get it all right, because if he did, the world would look a whole lot different, wouldn't it?
Absolutely.
So I say that it is for the younger people to assess how we do things currently and to try to make changes in the world. You're 35, you're still a very young sister, and you know what I mean? Don't let no one play with you. No one play with you. He's a man just as you are a woman. So don't let no one play with you like that. He may have more book knowledge than you, but you may have more applied knowledge than he does. So just, you know what I mean, do your thing, continue to teach, continue to educate. We out here listening, and I am gaining a whole lot of wisdom from some of the things that you say. So I ain't trying to attack him personally. I'm just saying that continue to do your thing, sister. Continue to do your thing. I'll leave it right there to allow you to teach and continue doing what you're doing tonight, man. I'm out.
All right, thank you. Thank you. And I appreciate the brother for that. That's a powerful word of encouragement. It's very powerful. That's right. Cause see, we gotta be careful when we let people play in our face. We gotta be careful when we let people just think that they can get over you. Because that's what people would do. You know, and I hate to say this, this is really sad. When it comes to men and women, there's a lot of gender bias. You know, there's men, especially those who are supposed to be in the African centered community, in the black nationalist community or whatever. They have this mindset that they are much better than women when it comes to knowledge. They are much greater, that they supposed to know more than what women know. You know, so they these are the ones that will try to do whatever they can to bring some form of manipulation, some type of control because of your gender, because they have this mindset thinking that because you're the opposite of them, that you're not as smart, you're not as wise, you're not as intelligent. That's another reason why I am very careful. That's another reason why I don't go around subscribing to these political parties, because once you start learning about people, there's going to come a situation where there's some form of bias. And in this case, the most common thing is gender bias. It don't matter what side you on, there's some form of gender bias. And that's one of the reasons why I have become uninterested in joining political parties or identifying with just one ideology. Because there is some form of gender bias going on. There's going to always be that man or woman that think that they are better than the opposite sex. But in this case, it's more common with men. I hate to say that, it's very common with men. But I got one more book that I want to share as far as things they deal with political avenue. This book right here is called Crack, Rock, Cocaine, Street Capitalism, and the Decade of Greed. You know, this goes into the crack cocaine era, okay? And how it destroyed communities, especially black communities. And then it talks about gangs, mobs, and things like that. You know, it goes into the drug cartels or whatnot. Okay. Now, let's get to the other books, all right, which I mentioned earlier, I have a personal interest. Okay. So my personal interest is more focusing on psychology. Focusing on psychology, sociology, and philosophy. And also science. Books like this, Black Health Matters. Yeah, this book right here is very important. It's very vital for our community, because this is where we really got to focus on our health issues, health crisis. Know about various type of disease, how to maintain better diet. And by the way, this guy is an actual doctor. Okay. All right. So he's an actual doctor. So it's not somebody that's writing no pseudo mumbo jumbo nothing. Okay. So his name is Richard W. Walker Jr., an actual doctor. So when we talk about health, right, we gotta talk about everything. We talk about emotional health, psychological health, physical health, all these things, they matter. Now, one of the books I have is called The Body Keep the Score: Brain, Mind, and Body in the Healing of Trauma by Bessel van der Kolk. All right. And this book, again, one of my personal favorites, because the reason why I like books like this and this is because we have to deal with psychology. We have to get into the psychology of things. You know, politics is great. It's needed. It's very important. But you cannot have politics without dealing with psychology. You cannot have politics without having a culture. So, in order to really understand politics, right, you got to deal with the psychology, you got to deal with the sociology, and you must deal with the philosophy. If you don't go to the root of it, then you're not going to be able to get into the politics. So, my personal interest is dealing with psychology. That's my personal interest, and sociology. Because we have to understand social class, social group, social economics, the social aspect of people and things. What's going on in our world? What's going on in our community? You know, politics falls under sociology, right? You know what I'm saying? And politics have its root in psychology. Yeah. Because when you deal with psychology, you deal with the mindsets of individuals. You deal with why people behave the way they do, why people think the way they do. And why we as humans operate on the level that we operate on. So those two things are very, very valuable. If we're going to talk politics, you say, going back to your comment, you said that you are educated enough on ideology, philosophy, politics, or African liberation to understand. You're right. But you did not mention that I'm not educated enough on psychology or sociology. Because sociology and psychology cover those things. And also anthropology cover those things as well. Yeah, so social science play a major role. If you're going to go into political science, you got to study one of those social science courses. You got to take one of those courses in college. Either it's going to be psychology or sociology. All right. So you got to go into the origin. And for me, I would rather go into the origin. It don't matter what form of psychology I study. It can be social psychology, developmental psychology, evolutionary psychology, integral psychology, that's more on the spiritual aspect of things. Transpersonal psychology, that deals with spiritual. Neuropsychology, which deals with the psychology of the neural, you know, the brain, etc., like that, right? Um, it's a lot. It's a lot that goes into psychology. Urban psychology deals with the inner city life, urban communities, and those that live within the urban environments. Urban sociology deal with the social group, social class in the urban communities. There's various subject matters. So again, sir, I don't limit myself to one subject. I deal with various forms of subject. And sir, you don't know me well enough to say where I have studied and where I have not studied. You don't know me well enough to say what subject I have not ever exposed myself to. I may not read everything. I may not be as thorough or as knowledgeable as you are, but I have some form of sense of awareness. You know, I'm not going to hold you up because it's almost getting close to the hour. So I'm not going to hold you up. I'm not going to overwhelm you. You probably won't look at this video, and I don't expect you to do so. But that's the introduction of me, Tiffany. And I address the things that need to be addressed. So now you can take it how you want to. You can feel how you want to. You can find it entertaining if you want to. That's fine. But guess what? I am not afraid to stand on my position. And I'm not going to let anybody like yourself who feels some kind of way. Because I know you in the back of your mind, you somewhere calling me a coon because I don't subscribe to being a left wing. And that's a-okay. That's fine. But anyways, I hope you all enjoyed this video. And I appreciate the brother for coming through. So until next time, peace and power and elevation. And if you guys want to send this to Brother Jalal Kenyatta, go ahead, be my guest. You can send him the video if you like. That's fine. But let me go ahead and log off. Peace. And Ramadan Mubarak to those who celebrate Ramadan. All right. I hope you guys have a great one. And I will connect with you all later.